Hello and welcome to Professor Bets, your home for all things sports betting. This week we're jumping into the NFL Week 18 crucial playoff matchups. While that's a big title, I can explain that pretty easily to you. Throughout the regular season, all the NFL teams put winning above all else. That makes a lot of sense to all of us. But towards the end, we start to see other teams have agendas depending on their current position. If your team that's not going to make the playoffs, you have 2 wins, 4 wins, 6 wins, but you're currently eliminated, then what you're probably doing in Week 18 is trying to figure out, hey, what does our young talent have? Who are the bright spots that we can look forward and depend on in the future? Then you have teams such as the Green Bay Packers who don't really win a whole lot with a win. They don't lose a whole lot with a loss. They're already in the playoffs. Why not make sure you guys give yourself a week to get healthy? It's likely we'll see a lot of players sit out in these sort of matchups. These are not the sort of games that we're focused on, though. We are looking at those games that have a major impact on the playoffs in the NFC and in the AFC. Now, in the NFC, we only have 2 teams that are really fighting for that coveted new 7th seed. Other than that, there's not a whole lot of action going on. But in the AFC, we have 4 big matchups for the 6th, 7th seed, as well as a fight for that 1st seed, the only seed that will get the heavily discussed bye week. That is sometimes thought of as not a good thing for a team, but really every team seeks out that number 1 seed. Because there's only 2 matchups of importance in the NFC, we're going to go ahead and jump into that. We have the 49ers versus the Rams. Currently, the 49ers must win to get into the playoffs. They're underdogs by 5.5 points. That 5.5 points, I'm taking there. I love that they're giving the 49ers 5.5 points because in Week 11, the 49ers beat the Rams very soundly, 31-10. And we all, as football fans, know that's not an admiration. Since Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay joined their teams as head coaches in 2017, the 49ers are 6-3 in each of their matchups. Not only that, but more specifically, they're 5-0 in their last 5 matchups. To me, that shows that the Rams have been figured out by the 49ers, so I'm going to lead 49ers yet again. There are some interesting things going into this game. Jimmy Garoppolo is questionable. I do believe he will play. If not, we will see Trey Lance. I don't think that had anything to do with the 49ers' dominance over the Rams in the previous matchups, so it's not something I'm going to stress about too much. The 49ers are favorited for that last open seed in the NFC playoffs, but there is another team, the underdog for the 7th seed, and that is the Saints. That is going to shock some people because the Saints have been through so much this season, so to be able to put themselves in a position to get into the playoffs at the end of the season, I think that's about all you can ask for a team that lost not only their first string quarterback, but also had times where they were playing with a 3rd string or a random quarterback in order to make things happen. The Saints are currently playing the Falcons in Week 18, and they are favored by 4.5 points. Admittedly here, I will be taking the Atlanta Falcons plus 4.5 points because the Saints struggled to score on offense. That worries me quite a bit here. In Week 9, the Atlanta Falcons were able to beat the Saints 27-25. So what that shows me is that Matt Ryan and the Atlanta Falcon offense can score on that defense. The defense that's been getting the Saints all of the wins. I think 18-10 tells you that much. Now that we've discussed that fight for the 7th seed and who they're playing, let's talk about some different scenarios that can go down. If the 49ers win this game, then they have locked up the 7th seed, so they hold their future in their own hand. But what happens if the Rams do win that game? If the Rams are able to beat the 49ers and the Saints win against the Falcons, what we'll see is a tie between the 49ers and the Saints. What happens in this tie, our first tiebreakers, have they played each other? And if they did, who won? Neither of these teams have played each other, so now we got to go to the next thing. Who has the most conference wins? That sounds like a very good trivia question, and most of you would be shocked to find out that it's actually the Saints. The Saints have 7 NFC wins. The 49ers only hold 6 at this moment. Therefore, if the 49ers lose and the Saints win, then the Saints will be in that 7th seed. If that's not exciting enough for you, we're going to go ahead and move into the AFC. The AFC West alone has made the AFC playoff race so exciting. And we're probably going to see the game of the week and even the game of the year when we see the Chargers face off against the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, this will be in Vegas, but the Chargers are still 3-point favorites. That makes a lot of sense to me. In week 4, the Chargers beat the Raiders 28-14. I thought pretty soundly. I think they showed they were the better team. I think that the Chargers have the better all-around roster of these two teams. I know personally I will be taking the Chargers -3, but I cannot wait to see this Sunday night game. It's going to be absolutely fireworks, and I'm super pumped. Now, because the 6th and the 7th seeds are open, we have yet another team to even keep our eye on for any of those seeds, and it's the Colts who currently hold that 6th seed. They will be playing the Jaguars, a team they're favored by more than 15 points. While the Colts have been red hot and the Jaguars not so much, the Jaguars managed to keep it close in week 10 when the Colts only won 23-17. That's much less than 15. This is such a big week for the Colts though. Regardless of what the points is, I will go probably with the 15 points in the Jags. I do believe the Colts will still end up winning that game. That means they hold on to that 6th seed, which then gets a little bit interesting. So now that I've talked about the two matchups, let's talk about all the scenarios that can happen. First, we have the Chargers. The Chargers have to just win. If they win this game, then the Chargers are in the playoffs, which is exciting because, like I said, of all the teams here, I think they have one of the greatest rosters. I would rather see them in the playoffs than the Raiders personally. The same is with the Colts. If the Colts are able to win their game, then congratulations, they maintain that 6th seed. The Chargers will take the 7th seed. But what happens if the Chargers win against the Raiders, but the Colts lose against the Jaguars? What we'd see here is the Chargers would roll up to that 6th seed, and the 7th seed would actually go to the Raiders. The reason being is just last week, the Raiders won that head-to-head matchup, and as their records would be a tie, we'd look to that tiebreaker. The first stint of the tiebreaker is the head-to-head matchup, so the Raiders are in at the 7th seed. We'd have 3 AFC West teams in the playoffs. What happens if the Raiders are able to beat the Chargers and the Colts lose against the Jaguars? Well, then what we'd see there is the Raiders would get that 6th seed, and the Colts would get that 7th seed. Much like our NFC breakdown earlier, we'd go to a tiebreaker. The Colts and Chargers did not play each other this year, so they would have no head-to-head matchup win. Now next you go to those conference wins, and that's where the Colts once again have 7 AFC wins, and the Chargers only have 6. That would exclude the Chargers from the playoffs, giving the Colts that 7th seed. As exciting as that is, it's not over because we have to talk about the number 1 seed that's still in contention in the AFC. The Chiefs went through a little bit of a rough spot throughout the season, but have ended back up a kind of where we expected them on top, and they can actually secure that number 1 seed with a win here against the Broncos. Now, it's going to take a little bit more than that. I don't want to be misleading. Right now, let's focus on the game there. The Chiefs are favored by 9.5 points, which makes incredibly too much sense, considering in just week 13, which wasn't too long ago, the Chiefs were able to beat the Broncos 22-9. Couple that with the fact that Teddy Bridgewater will no longer be playing in this game. They go to their backup, Drew Lock, who shows a little bit more volatility when at quarterback. I believe the Chiefs are primed for a big win here, something resounding going into playoffs, really beating their own drum just in case they don't get that 1st seed. We still clearly understand who is the team to beat in the AFC. Now, why do they need more to the win? What more do the Chiefs need? Well, they need the Titans to slip up versus the Texans. Not actually the craziest circumstance, believe it or not. As I said, the Titans are playing the Texans, and right now the Titans are 10.5-point favorites, which is going to blow your mind when I tell you in just week 11, the Texans were able to beat the Titans 22-13. So that's about like a 20-point turnaround that Vegas is expecting from the Titans. And while the Titans really need this 1 seed in order to give Derrick Henry the most rest possible before he makes his debut into this year's playoffs, I do believe the Texans have a solid chance to win this game and a very good chance to cover the points needed. So now that we've broken down the 2 teams chasing this number 1 seed, let's go through some scenarios, fully understand this, and wrap this whole thing up. If the Chiefs are able to win the Broncos, that is not yet enough to lock up that 1 seed. The Titans currently own the 1 seed. and will only need that win over the Texans in order to ensure that they give Derrick Henry all the rest he needs. But if the Titans do lose this game and the Chiefs are able to win theirs, we will see the Chiefs at the rightful position, in my belief, as the #1 seed in the AFC. Thank you so much for watching Professor Bets. If you enjoyed this video, it leaned a little bit more on the sports content than just betting, then you're in luck because so much more is coming out that's more on the sports content side. It's all in the works as we speak. If you've been loving the betting side and you haven't been checking out my NBA bets, they happen on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. It's only 15 seconds of your time. I give you 3 NBA picks that I really like for each one of those days. Like I said, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. You won't want to miss all of that, and you won't miss it if you subscribe to this page, follow any of my other social media. We're going to get all of that stuff out to you guys. There's something for everybody. So just have a great time, enjoy your week, and look forward to the matchups ahead. Now that